Weekly update for Friday, April 9th. Now with COVID-19 intensity. And really jazzed about this one. Everybody get comfy out there. We're going to get caught up with our old friend Lee Thacker, Cerebus in Hell with a question mark, team member, but primarily Tales from the Wedding Present co-creator. Dear Dave, Happy Christmas. What a strange and scary year it's been, hence the slightly longer annual update than usual. As always, I really hope you mention my latest efforts in your weekly update for a moment of Cerebus and read out parts of my letter. However, the parts below, which are in bold italics, are not for public consumption. Thanks. No problem. Part 1. Comics work this year. Please find enclosed the following: Tales from the Wedding Present, Volume 1, signed hardcover. Now that's really cool. At last I finished the artwork for this on the agreed deadline date of 10 August 2020. 40 bonus pages. This is why there are no, quote, official, unquote, new comics this year. The new pages have been used in Volume 1 instead. However, there were many edits to do before David finally, quote, signed off, unquote, on the book. David being David Gedge. 5 people were involved in the editing process, which meant I ended up having to do 20 separate text edits for a great many pages over the course of 3 months. I'm so glad I no longer do the lettering by hand directly onto the page. If I did, the pages would probably be an inch thick with correction fluid. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. We also had a number of production problems, and I'm still not convinced that the cream color for the pages was the right choice. And we'll do you a quick demonstration. See, it doesn't even really look cream colored on a little television screen. But I liked it. I thought it looked really good. It seems a bit too, quote, yellow, unquote, to me, but David likes it. We were initially promised a purple ribbon to match the cover color, but then the printer couldn't find any, so we had to go with black instead. David has paid for an initial print run of 1,200 copies, but due to COVID, the band have had to put all touring plans on hold. So our usual distribution network, Gigs, is gone for the foreseeable future. So it would really help, I think, if a bunch of folks out there, you've heard me talk about Tales from the Wedding Present many times before. This one lets you start right from the beginning. And as Lee says, 40 bonus pages. Now for escalating the personal, really jazzed about this, this next section, Tales from the Wedding Present, number 19. You're looking at it right here. There are only 2 copies of this available, mine and yours. It contains mostly unfinished pages and a few extras. I printed it myself through Lulu as I had a pressing need to get one final issue done. David and I have decided to end the comics. Boo! Issue 18 being the final official issue. This is so we can concentrate on bonus material for the compilations to give the fans who have bought all of the comics more value for their money. As I mentioned above, Volume 1 has 40 pages of bonus material. Hold up Volume 1 again. Being careful not to damage your Tales from the Wedding Present number 19. There you go, Volume 1. Volume 2 will have 60 bonus pages, the equivalent of what would have been the next 3 issues of the comic if we'd continued with it. And I currently have a further 4 pages laid out and ready to draw. As you'll see, I've also included artwork in the comic that's not related to the wedding present. Having Bill Sienkiewicz and Jim Steranko, the underscored in caps, Jim Steranko, comment on my Wollywood-inspired illustration via social media really was the highlight of my year, and quite understandable on that one. Tales from the Wedding Present, Volume 2. These are the stories so far. A hard copy for David to work from so he can see which stories need to be added. Only 5 copies of this exist. Yours, mine, David's, Terry's, and one which I sent to one of our editors. Only 5 of these. Eat your hearts out. Part 2, personal stuff. Sadly, my father passed away this year at the age of 92 after suffering from dementia for the past 3 years. He died peacefully in his bed at the nursing home he'd been residing in since 2017. And I was able to say a, quote, virtual, unquote, goodbye to him thanks to the marvels of modern technology. I was unable to visit him physically due to the pandemic, which meant that nursing homes were not allowing visitors. The doctor who pronounced him dead neglected to issue a death certificate before going off on an annual leave, so it was only on the day of the actual funeral, literally at the last possible minute to allow the funeral to go ahead, that he sent it to the registrar so the service could go ahead as planned. We gave him a good send-off at the natural burial ground where my mother was buried 13 years earlier. Sincere condolences to Lee Thacker and the entire Thacker family. Work, my proper full-time job as a primary school teacher, has been strange and challenging. That proves to be an understatement. The government guidelines in England state that if a pupil is tested positive, then the whole class, including the teacher, has to self-isolate for a 2-week period. This has happened twice with my class since September. This has meant I've had to work from home and plan and resource daily lessons for the pupils to access via the internet for writing, reading, maths, science, history, and art, as well as some other subjects including Spanish, music, and physical education on a weekly basis. Not only that, but each lesson and resource has to be formatted as both a Word document and a PDF, so it's compatible with whatever device they happen to be working on. I then have to replan and resource all of the daily lessons for the pupils with special educational needs, the lower ability pupils. Finally, I have to upload it all to their, quote, online learning zone, unquote, and wait for them to upload their work, which I then have to mark with a constructive comment. Give me a classroom of kids any day. Having spent the best part of each day getting all of this work prepared and uploaded, I've only had a maximum of 10 pupils responding. 1/3 of the class. That seems to be going on anywhere. What we used to call education is never going to be again. We have a new kind of education. What the government have failed to recognize is that many of the families only have access to one computer in their homes, which many parents need to use themselves if they're working from home. I remember you mentioning how difficult it must be to be a teacher in 2020, but the children are, on the whole, really well behaved and hardworking in the primary school I've worked at for the past 30 years. 30 years. Part 3, Cerebus and Dave Sims stuff. Thank you for sending me a replacement copy of Cerebus Archive 8. I initially had a card pushed through my door from Royal Mail which said I had a package they'd tried to deliver from the Netherlands, too big for the letterbox. I tried to get it redelivered, but they wrote my postcode down wrong, so it never arrived. I assume this was the package which was originally sent, but I have no idea why it would be coming from the Netherlands. Yeah, we've had some interesting vacations for our packages. Strange Death of Alex Raymond and the You Don't Know Jack books arrived safely, and they are both really impressive. I'm sorry to hear that neither of them will continue. I laughed out loud at the You Don't Know Jack page where you mention slaughtering chickens. If you want to know why that's funny, you're going to have to try and rustle up a copy of You Don't Know Jack someplace. I also purchased the Cerebus #1 comic in all its various forms. Very nice, and sincere thanks for coming along on that. The Waverly Press Spawn 10. Arg! So much to choose from. The appearance of variant covers is one of the things which, along with crossovers, made me give up on mainstream comics. I really don't need 13 copies of the same comic with different covers. However, since I was reading the history of EC Comics at the time, comic art, metaphysics, etc., I've gone for the signed Platinum edition along with the supplement book and the, quote, bonus bundle, unquote. Oh, speaking of the Waverly Press, Comic Art Metaphysics Acronyms Part 1, TWP, the Waverly Press, TWP, the Wedding Present. That seems like a good place to end things for this year. As always, best wishes to you for a healthy and productive new year. Your friend and fan, Lee Thacker. And Lee, I hope you'll be posting contact information and ordering information in the comments section for anyone interested in getting the books that are available. Not the really special ones that I got, courtesy of Lee Thacker, but at least a hardcover volume 1. Okay, that'll do it for the weekly update this week. I hope we'll see a bunch of you again next week.